Alright guys, what's going on? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. And one of the things that I've been hearing a lot more lately, not just from my comment section, but just in social media and perhaps in a few different videos comment section as well, it's starting to become a lot more repetitive. And that is the fact that there are players out there, a significant number of players, even if they are in the minority, it's still a significant number of players. I'm going to go into it soon, but they really want XDefiant to release on last-gen consoles. Now, as we know, previously, before XDefiant came out, it was the original plan for XDefiant to be released on last-gen consoles. And unfortunately, that didn't become a thing. Originally, the game was supposed to come out just on the consoles that we have out now. And then an X amount of months later, or however long later it was, the last-gen consoles were to come out as well. Now, I don't know if it was officially announced that they were going to end it indefinitely to where they aren't going to do last-gen consoles at all, or if it was something that was just rumored or something like that. I don't know. I haven't covered the topic in quite a while. However, the reason why I didn't even look into it before recording this commentary is because, well, when it comes to desperate times, calls for desperate measures sort of thing, I think that it is in some way, shape, or form at some point in time still subject to change, because when you look at XDefiant as a whole, there's no reason as to why the game can't at least do 60 frames per second. And especially when you look at the graphics and stuff like that. I mean, people, when the game launched, actually since before the game launched, everybody was talking about how, oh, XDefiant looks like a mobile game, or oh, XDefiant looks like a last-gen game or whatnot, right? Whatever it is. Like, if you think about it, it actually would fit perfectly into a solid 60 FPS, 1080p 60 FPS console game for last generation consoles. And obviously, the current gen consoles are going to be having the additional frame rates, right? But other than that, there's no reason as to why XDefiant can't perform very well on last gen consoles. And on top of that, I believe I have read, as far as the PlayStation side is concerned, I'm not sure about Xbox, but in terms of the PlayStation side of things, there's like, I think 40 to 45% or so of the PlayStation community is still on last gen. They're not in current gen consoles. And if you ask me, that's a significant number of players. And on top of that, a lot of these people that are still on last gen are not necessarily the people that can't afford a new PlayStation, but they're also like, they also just don't care because they're already happy enough playing with what they're playing. They don't necessarily care about the additional frame rates. They don't necessarily care about, you know, the capabilities that the new games are going to have. A lot of them also play a lot of free-to-play shooters. And the fact that XDefiant, like we've already talked about how XDefiant is not available on Steam, at least not yet, fingers crossed, and how it's obviously not available on last-gen consoles. I think those two things alone are definitely significant factors that could actually boost the player count, especially if released at the proper time. I've already made a video talking about how previously I've made a video previously talking about how if XDefiant were to release on Steam, the best time for it to release would be around Season 3 because of all the additional features and all that kind of stuff that are going to be released within Season 3. So releasing the game on Steam at Season 3 would be perfect. So it's like, well, what if they actually took it another level and actually do it for last gen as well? What if they were to actually release last gen? And for me, as far as, you know, hope is concerned, you know, I've said this before, even before XDefiant released, I was always rooting for the last gen console people, because from a logical standpoint, there's no reason as to why the game can't perform a solid 1080 60, right? I think even the developers can mention that. But like, a part of me wants to believe, and again, could be totally wrong on this, but this is just me. This is just me being a gamer. This is just me being hopeful. So forgive me on this, but part of me wants to believe that they're kind of secretly still kind of working on it and progressing towards it, because there's no way in the world you can't tell me that the devs, as well as Ubisoft themselves, don't know that XDefiant, I think, would perform significantly well from a player count standpoint on the PS4 and on the old Xbox as well. I literally don't see why that can't be. But the problem is that, you guys remember like when Call of Duty Ghosts released? The problem is, like, that game right there, like, it released on the newer consoles, which was the Xbox One back in the day when it released. It released on the 360 first, and then it went to Xbox One. Like, obviously you could play them on both consoles, but But the thing is, like, it released on Xbox One, I think sometime a little bit later than the initial launch, if I remember correctly. If not, they all released at the same time. And I remember the developers, I don't remember if it was Mark Rubin or somebody else mentioning in an interview, whether it was written in an article or whether it was something I saw on video, I don't remember. But like, it was definitely a challenge for the devs to release that game for all the different platforms, because you had your PlayStation 3, you had your Xbox 360, you had your PS4, you had your Xbox One, and I'm not sure about PC or anything like that. But when you have twice the amount of consoles to release for, that in and of itself is a tremendous challenge, and it's also very time consuming. And as you guys know, timing and the amount of devs, supposedly when it comes to XDefiant, is definitely something that is not on its side. You know, again, like I said, in my fantasy, I would love to think that they're still kind of secretly making progress towards releasing on last gen, but obviously if it wasn't a thing, it wouldn't surprise me either. However, if they were to come out and say at some point in time in the near future to where they're like, yeah, we're going to release the game on last gen, it's not, I don't think it's something that would be a waste of time to focus at all. Obviously, the more things that you have to work on at the same time will hold you back even more. Like, for instance, if you have to work on last gen, it's going to hold back current gen. Like, I remember someone who was a PC player mentioned, and I'm paraphrasing in my comment section, they reminded me that, like, when you've got something like PC going on that could have the like crazy amounts of optimization because of what a PC is capable of compared to consoles actually hold PC back. So I'm assuming the weaker consoles, which are last gen, would hold back the current consoles and hold back PC, which is one of the reasons why it hasn't been done or has been delayed or is just something that's going to be completely scrapped, because originally that was the plan. And then obviously that didn't come to fruition, unfortunately. But I wanted to make this video to talk about this because there are significant players that are on last gen still. And on top of that, they're making their voices heard when it comes to XDefiant. And I know this could be a minority compared to the majority of players, but honestly, what do you think, guys? What do you guys think would happen if XDefiant were to actually release on last gen consoles? I think the game would at least get a significant boost of players. And I don't see why, you know, again, from a technological standpoint, I don't see why it's not possible. But at the same time, I do realize at the same time that it is something that is a lot more time consuming. And the last thing that anybody wants for XDefiant right now is for it to be held back even more, because it's already been held back enough. So with that being said, guys, let me know down in the comment section what you guys think on the matter. What would you guys like to see? What do you guys think? And you know, I can't wait to hear, or in this case read, what you guys have to say in the comment section down below as far as this topic is concerned. And as always, I like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.